Running Sentences presents a bonus episode short story. A puzzle piece. In order to win a contest and a lot of money, a couple has to work together. It would go easier if they got along, but fights always break out over the smallest of things. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional stories is purely coincidental. Copyright 2024, Michael Hunnery. All rights reserved. A sprawling soundstage had been set up to look like a jungle with old ruins scattered around the place. Two figures were darting around the faux jungle, trying their best to hold on to the objects in their hands. "Lisa, why did you give me this?" "It goes together somehow. They look similar and like they fit together to me, and you're good at that sort of thing." In his rush, Ollie wasn't looking much about as his foot met a root sticking out of the floor. His tentative hold on the two pieces that looked like cogs on the end of cones that potentially might fit together faltered, and so they flew. "Ollie, if we're going to win, keep your hands on the prizes." "Ow!" "Ow doesn't help. Get up and get them to fit together." He glared at her for a second as he got up and went over towards them. They hadn't gone far, which was good, and then once they were back in his hands, he pushed the two pieces together. These cone-like things with cog bits on the ends didn't actually look like they fit together, and nothing happened as they separated easily from one another. It didn't work. "Try harder." "What do you think I'm not? Why didn't you try it?" She had continued running ahead of him towards a wall of ruins, but had come to a stop upon hearing the questions. Quickly, Lisa reversed and was beside him with anger in her eyes. "You don't think I tried to?" "Well, no, you always pass things off for me to do." "Well, I did try for your information, and you're better at this kind of thing." "I am not." Grabbing him by the arm, she propelled them both forward. "There is no time. The clock has almost run out, and we're near the exit, and there are other competitors around. Put it all together, and now." "I'm trying to, but these pieces don't work. By the way, what's in your hands?" She held up a little block that looked like a cube that could be turned in places. Her hands were busy making it shift about the place, and he stared, trying to figure it out, while merely holding on to the puzzle pieces in his hands. "Why are you staring? I've almost got this solved, and you have done nothing." "I've done bunches, mostly shoved this together since it doesn't look like it goes together." "What are you saying?" "We're missing a piece of it, or maybe more. It doesn't go together, and I can't believe we've managed to solve puzzles to get this far." Can you not figure out a simple little puzzle? I swear I have to do everything, and then some to keep this whole thing going." Ollie wanted to throw the pieces of the cone into the distance, but it would do no good to do so. At best, it would cause a bunch of rage and words to be thrown at him from Lisa. But enough was also enough. "How are you blaming me for this? You dragged me into this game and said I should be the one who was the face of it. I've never been good at anything." "I know you've never been good at anything, and the only reason I brought you is because my original partner had to drop out." "Then why come to me?" "You're my husband. Who else was I to go to?" They had arrived at the wall of the ruins that would allow them to go no further. There was a door carved into it with several pieces missing, as well as several cog-like looking things stuck into the wall. "Oh, so you're saying that none of your friends like you enough to help you out, wife of mine?" "Well, that's it, isn't it? None can stand to be around you long enough to put up with any of this?" "Shut up right now, Ollie. I've just gotten started. This is what you have always wanted. Me telling you how things are, so that you can divorce me or something else." Ignoring him as best she could, she walked up to the wall and slapped the little cube in her hands into a spot next to the door that looked like it would go. It sat there for a moment, and then fell out. Shit! It probably goes up higher. How would you know? You're not good at anything. I don't. It stands to reason the thing was a simple toy to play with, and you want to add a challenge to it. So you'd put something like that where one simply cannot reach, so that it adds to your problems. This is a game, after all. Shut up. Her eyes, though, raised to examine where the cube might go as she picked it up off of the ground. Ollie shook his head, still holding the two cone-like pieces as he examined the wall himself. They looked like they might fit into the wall, but again, it was obvious, and things weren't supposed to be obvious in a game. That is, unless you really wanted to throw someone's mind through a loop. And we're playing games, which they were. Look for something that's out of place, and things that make you question why they are the way they are. They're trying to play with your mind and frazzle it. Oh, now you come up with solutions? Yeah, now I do. Now I can figure something out. Now I'm not as unuseful. He was too busy not scanning the wall, but the ground for things. It felt too simple, and he paused for a moment, as he sort of made out a faint writing on the ground that had moss covering it. You better hurry, I think one of the other groups is getting closer, and if they beat us to this opening... I got it. The instructions are down here. His foot was busy trying to kick away some of the moss on the stones, which she was more than happy to help with once she saw what he was doing. Clumps of the soddy moss flew about the place until they could clearly see a set of instructions carved into the stone. You did it. Not until everything is in the right place, and we might be missing a piece. There's supposed to be 4 things, and we only have 3. With a grin, Lisa reached into the front of her shirt, pushing it aside to retrieve a stone-like object that had been hidden between her breasts. She flashed it at Ollie, who merely raised an eyebrow at her. Always be prepared. Is that really being prepared? Yes, it is. What do we need to do? He pointed towards the ground where 2 gaps in the stone stood not far from the instructions. Your objects need to be put into those spots. She did as she was told, the stone objects entering with first the little sliver of stone sliding in with a click, and then the cube-like thing almost fitting over it. Ollie then moved over to a rock by the side of the wall, pushing away some caked-on mud to it. Do those go over there? These instructions don't seem to show that. Do you trust me or not? No. Good to know. He then took one of the cones, placed it gently against the rock. Here, grab the other one, will you? Oh, okay. What do I do with it? There is a point at the door in the ground. Put the cone side down into it. Then, carefully, with the one he would still had placed into the puzzle piece, the cone side against the rock, with the cog side away from it. There was a click-like noise as he pushed the 2 together for a moment, slightly into the rock. How did you figure this out? I do have a bit of a mind on me, even though it doesn't work all that much, and I admit it doesn't always work and would rather argue with you, but it does like to overthink things. How does overthinking help us, and how did it get to here? Having now found the spot, she carefully placed the rock downward with the cog facing her, then looked over to him. I'm all set over here, but please do answer the question. Oh, it's simple. There were little dots in the little carving. It made sense to me somehow. I don't know. It sort of... I looked for spots where rocks looked weird, okay? And, twist the cog a bit on the count of 3. Ready? 3! She looked at him furiously for a moment, but also twisted with all of her strength. There were 3 clicks, and the door began to open a few inches, and then a bit more. You did it. How does overthinking get a door open, though? Ollie joined her by her side and offered a quick hug as a congratulations. A puzzle only stands up to so many questions, and when you only have questions, you get to a point where it makes sense. Eventually, anyway, I think. I could kiss you for helping us solve the puzzle and potentially win, at least until we get to the next section. You could kiss me. You would probably regret it. True. Now let's get out of here and claim what's rightfully ours at the next section. She grabbed his arm and yanked him as the doors began to shut. The end of a puzzle piece. Thank you for listening.